Chantal, great to see you in sunny South Florida. Thank you for dialing in today. I mean, I know you've been whizzing around everywhere recently, so it's really great to catch up again. Chantal,
Oh,
just to start things off, to start this conversation off, I mean, just give us a flavor of what you're trying to achieve. I mean, you're in such an interesting area. Tell us what you're trying to achieve.
well, first and foremost, Paul, thank you so much for your time, for inviting me to come back to one of your podcasts since I met you last year. But one of the main goals that I'm trying to achieve is to bring interactive AI, metahuman technology into wide global markets and to also scale and grow a global team. So when you got the opportunity to speak to me a year ago, it was very interesting as we were in those genesis moments of fundraising, trying to get your first amount of capital, those
Yeah.
checks and investments in, to now raising over $2 million, having global 10-year partnership deals signed, having team members in the UK, in the US, in India, growing now in Germany as well too, looking at contracts in the UAE, etc. It's been a heck of a journey. It's
I'm
been an
sure.
interesting 12 months, but those are some of the goals and the things that I'm trying to achieve in 2025.
Sure. And what is it? I mean, it's a tough job building a global business. I mean, what is I mean, what is it about that mission that inspires you to keep, beavering away at it?
Business is all about people.
Mm.
So for me, the bottom line is I get to work around very talented executives and employees and team members that I've had the privilege of getting to handpick and to build into the design, the company culture, and the motivation of what we all strive for. So as somebody that's actually a young entrepreneur, a woman in her early 30s, some of the executives that I get to work with are 20 years older than me, even potentially 30 years older than me,
Mm.
but they are the right people in the right seats. And that's what motivates me because everyone has diverse opinions, eclectic backgrounds, but to be in these little think tanks or Zoom sessions, as we call it, and get to hear the experience from people that are in the Middle East on our team, people that are from the UK and even in the US. I feel like we've also solved world peace because we have people that are Jewish, Muslim,
Yeah.
Hindu, atheists, Christians, all in that at that executive level, but yet there's harmony and we're striving to move forward every single day. So getting
And
to work with them is just truly motivating and transformative.
yeah, and specifically about the technology, I mean, the meta-human. I mean, just explain what it is that's important about that to you.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's such an important? I mean, I think it's a pretty important technology, but why do you think it's an important technology?
For me, it's all about efficiency. And being an entrepreneur and a CEO, if I can replicate myself to schedule tasks, to read through my calendar, to fill out forms, to automate business processes and flows that's there. And it takes maybe a minute or two of my time to prompt the persona of my digital avatar that's there, curate it with the right parameters and having the right curriculum to come in, the data sets, as we call it, set this up in 2 or 3 minutes, and now it's off and running where it doesn't need to have time off. It's available 24/7. It is just now simplifying my life. And I'm a person where I have to practice what I preach. So, our AI interactive metahuman technology called Hope, helping other people efficiently, is what we're now starting to use internally, externally on our website come August 1st, 2025. You'll see our metahuman there. And we're now starting to adopt this and apply it for all of our partners that's there globally. So we officially will launch September 1st of 2025.
Wow. I mean, I can see why you're excited. And tell me about the moment that you realized that this technology, because I know you've been working on it for quite a while, haven't you? I mean, when did you realize that this technology could have such a global impact? I mean, tell us about that moment. How did that unfold?
Great question, Paul. This all started in 2022 when I came to the US to do my doctoral research on interactive AI. That was more of the term back then, which is now known as agentic AI.
Right.
When I was doing my PhD research, it was that moment right when COVID and the restrictions started to get easy and decrease. I started to see how the global economy was shifting. It was moving and it was looking for more adoptive solutions to help humanity. And that was the moment, probably towards the end of 2023, where I put a pause in my PhD to commercialize the IP, the ideas that were there. And it truly wasn't until our team was asked, and we went to the NVIDIA GTC conference in San Jose earlier this year in March and had our MetaHuman technology on display in one of the booths, where I realized at the NVIDIA conference, there were so many people internationally. People wore their cultural clothes. It was packed, like tens and thousands of people all came from that conference. And that was the eye-opening moment when you get to see people interacting with a metahuman from different cultures, different accents, different backgrounds, and saying, oh, I can see the business application for this, but I can see how that could transform my business. And that's what made me, beginning of March or towards the end of March 2025, to think globally and find those right people to
Yeah.
help.
And in terms of achieving that global impact, I mean, my view on what you're doing is that it's going to have a lot of impact. But to achieve that, I mean, what would you say is the biggest problem that you're going to have to overcome to get from where you are to where you want to be? I mean, tell us about that.
Yeah, we're right now in that position of scale and growth mode. And in order for me to overcome different obstacles that's there, it is truly, instead of, it's trying to help us not chase the market, but to be ahead of the
Yeah.
market. And that also means that I need to have all of our internal infrastructure and process and business flows with the right executives and directors and managers and leaders already established and put together in order to now go and attack the market that's there. I think many CEOs, like we strive for that, we have the vision for that, but then it's hiring that right COO. It's hiring that right talent manager to come on to find the right people for those roles, because that is actually one of the biggest risks. You can have the greatest technology, best signed contracts. It really goes down to, can you deliver and support the pilots, the workflow that's coming in?
Yeah. And I mean, that's a really interesting point you made. I mean, I was going to ask about one of the interesting challenges is trying to have a global impact, but trying to do that with a relatively small team. I mean, what's your view on how you build a team like that? How you keep them focused on the right things, and also how you keep them motivated when things get difficult, because they will at some point. Things go wrong and problems occur. And so, give us your take on those sorts of issues?
Well, you've asked me three good questions, so I may go back in reverse order. So, number one, or number three, how do I keep them motivated? For me, it's all about developing that culture that
Yeah.
fosters great questions and accepting failures as learning moments. And when you've done that from the top all the way to the interns in Germany or in the US and in India that are joining,
Mm.
sometimes our interns are also in with the executives in meetings, and everybody has a voice that's equally valued. And when you created that environment, then people are prone to actually come up with innovative solutions or to think outside of the box to help. And then now answering part of your second and first question is, how do you really keep this global growth going?
Mm.
It's finding those right, we call them as channel partners that's there. And for me, how I define a channel partner is basically a C-suite level executive who is willing to be a champion of change for Cornerstone X, and they carry the baton of our technology, our mission into their company with their executives. We've signed our paperwork, partnership deals, et cetera, in place. But for me, those channel partners are also a part of my core
Yeah.
team that's there. So I will be taking weekly meetings with them. We go through their own SWOT analysis. I understand exactly what are their customers' pain points and problems, and then get those issues, go back with the CTO, or now this our CTO starting to have those conversations and can take those details into the new features that gets embedded with the technology. And I found by having I call them internally as a champion of change, meaning our UK partners, our German partners, our partners in Saudi Arabia that we're starting to explore, having them as a part of your internal team and giving them the autonomy to think about the different features that's beneficial for their customers, that's showing me a lot. And at the end of the day, like, facts don't care about your feelings. The data will show you exactly what your customers really want. Do they want this bookmark feature or chat history feature? And are they really looking for language interpretation, for example, to be on every single page or just the main ones that's there? And now having them as a part of the technology innovation has been really inspiring and opened our eyes too.
I mean, quite a few of the CEOs I've spoken to have talked about the importance of partnerships as the way to build a global, footprint. I mean, it's very easy to say we'll get lots of partners. I mean, negotiating those deals is a bit more complicated, isn't it? I mean, give us your, well, I mean, what's your view on that process? How do you go from I've got a great product to I've got a great deal with the right partner? I mean, finding the right partner, how do you do that? I mean, give us your view on those sorts of issues.
Yeah, so right now to date, we've signed 5 global partners, and these are companies that have revenue anywhere between 35 mil all the way up to $1 billion in revenue ARR that happens. So I know exactly what you're talking about from the first initial pitch to a partner all the way to the negotiations and the contracts. And the devil's always in the details that's there and their different percentages, et cetera, of revenue shares and splits that's there to now actually launching pilots with partners. So I've gone through that whole different life cycle that's there. And my piece of advice is for any CEO that's starting those conversations or your head of sales, head of revenue, whatever it may be, they have to have very high level of discernment. And when a person has that, they're able to right off the top of the bat discern, is this a good company to work for, with, and are
Mm,
the people like-minded? So far for me, by God's grace, but we've hit 5 for 5 and it's been amazing. Some
mm,
of the partners are still, we're going through parts of due diligence, and that's perfectly okay and fine. But for the signed contracts that we have, and these are now started with 3, the partners are asking us for 10-year partnership deals to really lock and keep our technology in place. And we're happy to abide by that. But bottom line, discernment and trust
mm,
is what the people really at the top of company need to have very acute decision making, and also should have the confidence to say no and know that this is not a good fit and it's okay for it to not be a good fit. I think many people make wrong decisions when they're desperate
mm.
and when they really want to have the right paperwork and show this to investors or show this to partners, private equity firms, and whatnot. And that becomes a bad decision later on. So for me, we take the time to actually go fly to the different partners, get to break bread with them, get to know them, speak to the co-founders. And some of these companies have had their co-founders in these or founders in the position for 30 plus years.
Wow.
And it's been brilliant to get to learn like why these gentlemen have decided to keep the companies that they've created for this long and to grow it globally and to achieve hundreds and millions of dollars in revenue that's coming in, but how that's a part of their mission. So we custom make the right technology to fit their mission and the visions that they have. And that's what's keeping us very nimble, quick, and able to adopt into the
I mean, I
market.
was I was going to ask. It's pretty successful now. I mean, I know you're not at the end of the journey, if you see what I mean. You've still got a bit of a way to go, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty successful. I mean, it's a phenomenal bit of technology you've developed. I mean, were there moments on that journey when you thought, oh, it may not turn out quite as successful as I thought? I mean, have you had those kind of difficult moments along the way?
Absolutely, especially during Christmas time, this in 2024, going into the beginning of 2025. And there were so many. I One of the questions that I know that your podcast has, as I've listened to some of the other speakers that's there, is really asking what is the role of a CEO?
Yeah.
If I had to be honest with you, it has a lot to do with shoveling SHIT every day, 24/7. You don't sometimes get a day off. And those are the CEOs that really know the hills and the valleys of what they have to go through. And being a young entrepreneur, but someone that has gleaned a lot of wisdom by from other entrepreneurs around me who've done this, I've been able to see how usually all of those hills and valleys that were there was a result of doing business or having the wrong person in the wrong seat. And those were a lot of lessons that I had to earn and learn to help me to become a better CEO for 2025 going into 26, but also realizing that when your gut really does tell you that this is not the right person, even though they have the pedigree and the background, most of those hills were those moments when I didn't listen to that. And
Mm.
now I'm much more confident and able to say no and just shut these deals down or not move forward with a candidate
Mm.
because it's the right thing to do for the business instead of my own selfish motives and ambition.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's I think is interesting about the role of the CEO when it's a relatively small business is, conventional wisdom is the CEO works out only the things that they can do best and they kind of delegate everything else. But it doesn't necessarily work that way in your situation, does it? I mean, how do you handle that tension about, what do you do and what do you get other people to do?
Uh, yeah, I've got a great team around me now, and some of them have 20 plus years of experience over myself. What I do is I get involved in every single division that's there, but I cast the vision and we make sure our executives have their milestones. We're tracking the
Mm.
moments, keeping everybody accountable. We have those team calls that's there, and I always offer support. So I'm that person where, okay, I meet with the different executives. I know what they're working on for this week or their sprints every 2 weeks or so. And if they need me to double check, triple check a document, review it to make sure I sign off on it, we have a good system in place to make sure we're efficient. So we don't have to be on Zoom screens all the time. We all just meet at the beginning of the week. We use a tool called Jira to help us map,
Yeah.
track, and
Yeah.
measure, have the summaries, everything put forward there. But that's become our communication board. So now people are able to see things. I'm able to go in and support it in a deeper level, a micro level where needed, and then get back up to the top and keep pushing and bringing new opportunities and casting the vision to new people to take it forward.
I mean, it sounds like you've got the kind of CEO role pretty well nailed down. I mean, which bits of it do you find the most challenging?
Not much, to be honest. And I'm not saying this in a cocky way. It's because I've had to fail so many times
Mm.
to the point I now have this right. And I probably have got this right over this past quarter, like Q2 of this year. A lot of my time, especially last year, was just pieces that were not done correctly. And I had to make decisions within 2 hours to course correct. And after having a proven track record of shoveling SHIT day in and day out for the first year of slideware to now proven product that already has paying customers and now major pilots going internationally, I've taken all of those lessons
Mm.
to know how to be able to mitigate risk, to phone a friend, ask the right person the right questions to move these things forward. And I'm much more agile and faster now, which is why I don't find anything too difficult
Mm.
other than choosing the right person in the right seat.
Mm. I mean, what you're saying is it's about being a quick learner.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, exactly. And adapting to the different change that's around, adapting, sorry, to different change that's all around you. Yes.
Yeah. One of the other interesting issues is, I mean, I don't know whether you've heard this, but there's this phrase here that, you shouldn't spend all your time working in the business. You need to sit back and take some time to work on the business. I mean, it's sort of a bit of a cliched phrase. I mean, what's your take on being in the business or working in the business or working on the business? I mean, are you able to stand back and look at that and take a view? I mean, how do you feel about that issue?
That's a great question. And I am able to do both because I'm married to two things, one person and one thing. So I'm married to my husband, who is my COO for the business and helping, or I should say co-founder. But I'm also married to one thing, which is my calendar. And I make sure in a day, 50% of my time in the morning is all internal, checking in with the team, going, reviewing documents. What do you need? Doing
Okay.
stand-ups or so internal. And then I manage my time in the afternoon for external partners, demos, new product launches, new ideas, and those conversations. So I think it's a healthy balance of both to be in and out. You have to do both, but I also let my calendar dictate the percentage of time, and I'm very ruthless to making sure afternoons are set for the outbound, new ideas, new demos, and the pieces that we have to keep
Yeah,
in
that
play.
sounds pretty systematic, actually, which I imagine is pretty important. And you mentioned a bit earlier on about making mistakes. I mean, every CEO I've ever met will tell you they make loads. I mean, have you made any mistakes that have turned out to be actually really valuable things? I mean, have you got things wrong that have turned out, well, actually, we did that wrong, but it's really paid off because. I mean, have you had those sorts of experiences?
A few. I could say I could just probably hold them in the palm of my hand, to
Right.
be honest. But I could summarize that by saying a wrong experience would be, for example, having a person introduce us to a potential customer or client that was there. And the person that had made that connection had a lot of selfish ambition that was there. Wanted, for example, stock option, certain percentage of equity, wanted to actually be an executive on our team. I'll be honest with you, Paul, I get a lot of people wanting to join the team, people who are in the phase of retiring, wanting to give, serve, come back in. But for me, that level of discernment, if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. And it was actually the bad mistake was I did not say no sooner. And I had said yes to a person to row the boat to come in to help us. But through that engagement with that person who's no longer a part of our team, and that's perfectly okay, we've had to terminate and exit out. They had brought in a great first customer for us. And that first customer ended up, this was in 2024, that first customer helped us actually sustain a beautiful partnership, sign a bigger deal, and they're now bringing other clients and opportunities to us. So that's where it's an example of what I had said before, the bottom line, right person on the right seat in the right bus and being there. And every single time when I did make that decision, sometimes they're not good outcomes. But if you're willing to still pick up the pieces from a bad situation and try to turn it into a profitable one, and you're willing to put in the work to do that, there can be a fruitful, good opportunity that comes out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and not just in practical terms, but also you learn from those experiences, don't you? I mean,
Exactly.
are
Right.
there any? I mean, I know, having been in those sorts of situations, that these things happen quite a lot. I mean, are there any things that you stand for absolutely in those difficult times? I mean, that you think, these are things that are absolutes for us. I mean, what sort of things would they be?
For me, absolutes are more of our core team values. There's within the executive team that's there, there's a certain level of a few executives that have really rowed the boat with us from day one onwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I go to the two or three of them that's there. And when there is conflict internally with what is the right decision to make about this negative decision, or sorry, a decision that has to be made, an absolute for me is what are the core values that each of these executives are standing on? Are they standing on the basis that this potential candidate is credible? Are they standing on the basis of this person being able to actually commit and execute with what they say they're going to do? Are they standing on the basis of actually this person's their ask, their salary, their equity play or so is very reasonable, but they have one out of the three areas not in complete alignment with what our goal is and our mission that's there. I really boil down to those core attributes, the trust, transparency, and truth that we keep, and making sure I've got that buy-in from the team before I now go out to actually publicly make the decision.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that, and I can see why that's particularly important if you're dealing with people.
Mhm.
It's absolutely the thing you want to get right, isn't it? I mean, one of the other interesting things, I mean, doing business in, I don't know, Florida, very different from doing business in Germany or Singapore or whatever. I mean, how do you manage those kind of cultural nuances? Because I know you've got to work with partners in those, but and that means people that have different backgrounds and different experiences. I mean, how do you manage the kind of cultural nuances involved in building a global footprint?
I allow our partners to actually dictate and tell me how they perceive their culture, their values, and their customers. So when I give the autonomy to the partners and a learning opportunity for them to tell me what exactly works for you with the deal making structure and the business process that's there, instead of going with my own preconceived notions. That changes the ballgame completely. And you're absolutely right. The way that deal structures and making happens in Germany is very different
Yeah.
than how it happens in India, and very different than how it even happens in the UK. It took us, with one partner, it took us about 40 days before we actually had signed paperwork. Another partner, it took us over half a year. But it's also understanding the cultural norms that I don't know if many CEOs take the time to do, but keep an open mind, and actually uncovering those cultural values and norms first gives you the insight in really how you should be applying your technology, your tool, or your service for the actual customer's needs that's there.
Yeah. I mean, the imperative it strikes me is you've got to find a way to get it all to work, haven't you? And inevitably that means taking into account the people that you're working with.
Exactly. Exactly. And for me, your customer is the most important person that's there. And if that comes in through a partner, so it's those moments that you really do have to focus on and value.
And as you've entered, well, you're entering more markets now. I mean, is your business evolving in any new ways? I mean, as a result of those sort of learnings and the things that you picked up from working in different parts of the world. I mean, tell us about that.
It is. Our business is always evolving, and especially when you are now in that agentic AI market, there's new technologies, new LLMs, new pieces that you have to think about, especially when one country adopts one form of technology and the other country doesn't. And for us, the biggest issue that we have is mitigating risk on the service and delivery side. And this is why we work and find those right partners who are experts in those areas, who know certain customers quite well, to help with the balance of risk that's there. But that does take more time. It takes more time from our leaders and our executive team to actually sit in for hours or fly somewhere for a week and just dedicate solely X amount of hours to make sure your partner really understands how this technology is getting adopted, applied, and delivered to the end customer that's there. So it's more of, if you invest the time up front, like the biggest investment for us is time. You invest that well with the people and the partners that's around, then you get that tried, true, and proven success.
Yeah, yeah, and time, of course, is the most valuable commodity, isn't it? And it's the one thing you can't replace. You can lose money or you can make money, but you can't replace time.
Exactly.
Very important that it's spent well. That's been my big lesson. Well, in terms of lesson, I mean, when you look back on the journey, I know you're not at the end of the journey yet. I mean, you've come a fair old way. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned so far?
Oh, biggest learning for me is that business is all about people. If you asked me that question last year, I would have said it biggest learnings is how to pitch, how to present a deal, how to show certain traction that's there,
Right.
how to put all those pieces forth. But now, and this is my second AI technology company, biggest lesson is that it is all about people.
And when you say, I mean, tell me a bit more about what you mean. It's all about people. I mean, lots of people say that. When you say that phrase, I mean, what's going through your mind when you think about the people in your business, the people that are your partners? I mean, what's when you say it's all about them? What do you mean by that?
Every single type of conversation that you have, whether it's negotiation, it's deal structuring, it's scoping out a pilot, it's figuring out what's the dollar amount in the pricing for the product that's there. It has to do with the person.
Yeah.
And when you actually sit on the other side of the table, this is what I'm actually trying to learn and grow in more. Instead of having the deal with that I'd like, I'm now prepping more to sit on the other side of the table for the meeting that we're mutually going to have and think, if I'm in this person's shoes, what did they want to get out of this mutual beneficial partnership or deal that's going to come forth? Whether it's a candidate that's getting interviewed, a contract that has to be signed to bring on a person, or even a teaming agreement that has to come in place. What I mean by it's all about people is take the time to sit in another person's shoes, assess the data that's there, and think about what is the critical decisions that they would be making first, and then go back into your position to see is that fair or not. Are your expectations being met with their expectations that's potentially there? And taking the time to prep for that well will better inform the way those meetings go, the outcomes of those meetings, and what gets generated out of it.
Yeah, and I guess you'll learn a lot from understanding their perspective, won't you?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Let me ask you. I know, like I said, I know you've come quite a long way. I know you've got further to go. But what would you say you're most proud of so far? I mean, you've had quite a lot of achievements. I mean, what's the most important thing to you?
I don't want this to sound cliche, but 100% of it is I'm proud of my team. I genuinely am so proud of the team that we have that it's an emotional moment for me because I have now everybody in the right positions in the right seats to help us attack the market and to go out there. I don't ever have to worry. I don't ever have to micromanage. And I even just get so much support by the team members that's there. We have an incredible, like we've achieved a lot that's happened in the past year. And you can go on our website or book time to talk with us or so. And always happy to share wisdom that's there. But I'm really proud of the people that have taken my vision and run forward with it. And that for me is what success looks like, where I can actually now sit back and have people present to me where they think efficiency could happen or better business processes or companies that they're willing to reach out and schedule those meetings and appointments for me to just show up there, demo our technology, and talk about a new opportunity. And when you foster that team culture where people individually in those divisions have the autonomy, they just need to check with me first. Are they on the right track or the right decision? But you give them the autonomy, you empower them. Now that team is just growing and it makes my life easier. So I focus on the outward bound stuff. So very proud of my team, the
I
global
mean,
team that we
I totally understand that. I mean, my experience is that when you get the right teams, you can make faster progress, which is one of the things I'm always quite. I mean, I'm never happy that we're going fast enough. But if you've got a great team, you can go pretty fast compared to. So I think that's the other thing that I like about those sort of situations is that you feel good and you make progress.
exactly right. If you had to ask me what's one of our differentiating factors about our company versus others that's out there, it's speed.
Yeah.
We are 24-hour decisions are being made, done, executed, implemented. 24 hours it takes. If my team executives, they now call me on their own every morning to see, so what have you been up to? What have you done in 24 hours? What's the new movements? And they're getting the updates in real time like that, where I don't need to even go chase anybody. They just see on Jira or they pick up the phone to know the new information they need. But things are moving at such a rapid pace where that's the place where my new season of time is to be able to keep up with this pace we're moving in.
Yeah, fabulous. And is there, I mean, is there anything that you know now that you wish you'd known right at the beginning? I know this is your second company, but is there anything that that you think, God, I wish I'd known that then? I would have done a whole load of things in a different way. I mean, is there anything, any learnings like that?
It would be that a lot of business plans, financial forecasts, a lot of the plans that you have and put together 3 year, 1 year or so, don't waste too much time putting that together and curating it because things at the real speed and how businesses should move and go, that's in the scale and growth mode. It's 2 week sprints, or sometimes it's 1 month
Yeah,
proper planning that has to be in place. And I've now shifted. If somebody had told me this a year ago, focus more on what you're going to get achieved and the high level milestones and deliverables for your executive team if in the next 2 weeks, in the first week that's there, or 1 week, 2 weeks, and then 1 month. That's where I wish I had put more time into planning that.
mm,
Because now, when I've assessed the data and looking back at it, many people, like without that clear vision or direction, people are off trying to do things to fill up their time, but it didn't yield to much.
mm.
And now I'm a lot more clean, precise than I know to manage our time efficiently in smaller allocations versus the dreaming big, half a year, 1 year, 3 year financial forecast of what we need. Those are great, and we have that in place, and those are good to keep as benchmarks. Don't get me wrong, very good to keep it there. But I now allocate my time more to what's happening in the next 2 weeks.
I mean, was it they say, no business plan survives contact with customers, does it? You know,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
if somebody was starting out on your journey, I mean, yours is quite a quite a specific journey that you've been on. But if somebody was starting out on that journey, I mean, is there any particular advice you would offer?
It would be selecting the right people. Honestly, it would truly be selecting the right people. It may sound cliche, but I've made many mistakes over the past I would say last year, by not getting this right and not being as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
So my big piece of advice is following that and sticking
Yeah.
with your gut and have that level of discernment.
I mean, I actually think that you've hit a really important point on the head there because if you don't get, I mean, the opposite is interesting to explore. If you don't get the right people, will you ever make the right progress? So it's absolutely. It seems to me to be completely critical that you get the right people because if you get the wrong people, you're not going anywhere. So it seems to me that's a really important point you've made there. Couple of just final things before we wind this up. Um, I mean, you've talked a lot about the journey. Tell us about some of the really exciting things that are on the immediate horizon that are about to happen.
Yes. So now looking forward to the future, we officially launch on September 1st of this year. And we're calling it our beta launch. And we have about 10 pilots that are in the process of getting secured. And these 10 pilots are in all sorts of like different industry verticals, education, sport, looking in customer service and support for retail, thinking about the automotive industry, and even the public sector here in the United States. So focusing on these different industry verticals and seeing, okay, now that our technology is getting deployed, what do we learn from this?
Hmm.
What's the feedback in this next quarter before we truly commercially launch and let that general availability, the GA, general availability come forth beginning of 2026 onwards. So it's more important to me to have those different pilots that are up and functioning well, learn from them, get that feedback, tweak, fix, change the features, and then really get ready for a solid 2026 onwards. And then always looking for more podcast opportunities, now publicly having to speak about this, magazines, different talks, etc. Getting to be written in articles. And I would love to like showcase some of the team members that we have as well too, which is just such a blessing, and elevate their profiles as well too, because it's really a team that is just moving this vision forward to come forth. So that's what this next couple of months towards a half a year and beyond will start to look like for us, Paul. Thank you.
And the team bit really comes across from you, actually. I mean, that's a really powerful message about the importance of the people that you're leading. One final question. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. I mean, AI changing everything at the moment, isn't it? I
Mhm.
mean, what's your prediction about how the things are going to unfold? I mean, in terms of the industries that you're in, have you got any particular predictions about what's going to happen over not so much your company, but in terms of the way AI is going to impact on different industries? I mean, what's your take on that kind of meta change, for want of a better way of describing it?
If I could predict what would happen, say, in the next 7 to 10 years from now, so we're in 2025, what would 35 look like?
Mm.
A certain company will nail AGI, artificial general intelligence. And it will be one of the big 5 or 4 that's out there. They will achieve that. And that will be a major game shift, another curve in the market and and analytics and the trajectory of where AI will go. There'll be the adoption of robotics that will now start to increase more than what we will are currently calling agentic AI that's there. That term will be there probably for the next 2 to 3 years or so, or it would go out of the market sooner because of the adoption of robots now coming in and automated different flows of businesses and processes that comes forth. But I do think if that's where my predictions would lie, then I also think by 2035, especially based off of the information I gathered at the NVIDIA conference, when they had a session on quantum mechanics and physics coming forth, that quantum will become a big proponent of what you will start to see in 2032 to 2035 onwards. And that'll be a different shift and change in the market.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of change coming along, isn't it? I mean, your point about robotics is interesting because it almost kind of moves AI into a really physical environment. You can see robots changing the way warehouses work, etc., etc. And it's going to be really exciting, I think. But it will create, I mean, my guess is that it will create quite a few interesting challenges for people.
With innovation, there's always challenges and there's always problems to solve. So it's going to be that beautiful blend of everything coming together with the adoption of innovation that's always at the heart of everything.
Yeah, like I said, exciting times. Chantal, thank you for taking a bit of time out. I know you're busy. Thank you for taking a bit of time out to share that story. I mean, it's a fascinating area that you're in, which I think will have pretty big impact over the next few years. So, I mean, I hope it plays out the way you want it to play out because it's who knows what's going to be happening. So, very exciting times.
Exactly right. Thank you, Paul. And it's a pleasure to be on your podcast.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure to have you here. See you again soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye bye.